ladies introduce themselves, and then we'll get to that part. You want to start?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Foster. I'm the incoming president of the National Association of Women Business Owners in New York City. I'm also a businesswoman like yourselves and an entrepreneur. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine for now.
Tiffany?
Hi, my name is Tiffany Gatlin, and I am the CEO of Latched and Hooked Beauty. And for the past 5 years, I have been designing and manufacturing itch-free synthetic hair extensions for women of color.
Hello, I'm Susanna Spiesha, and I'm the founder of a nonprofit, Reimagine ATL. And we work with teenagers, teaching them film and digital media production. And I recently left, and I'm starting a production company, and I ultimately work with creatives and trying to bring more representation into film and digital media.
All right, so we have a dynamic lineup, so we're going to just jump into it, right? Tiffany, we'll start with you. Okay. For each business owner, there was a specific strategy that you guys implemented to start your business. Tiffany, what was your strategy?
My strategy really was to focus on the consumer. I was creating a product for women who looked like me. And I knew for decades, women were finding, hair solutions in the beauty supply store. And, I came from corporate America. When I left corporate America, I did a lot of things before I got to where I am now. But my strategy was really to be accessible to the consumer and have them to understand that their issues are also mine. And I really wanted the trust of the consumer. So my strategy was really to find out what the pain points were of my consumer. A lot of times, startups or brands create products without actually talking to the consumer and finding out their needs. So they end up creating a whole bunch of products that nobody wants. So my strategy was really to find out, what did my consumers want? What did they need? And I think that has been the key to my success, is because my consumers can really relate to me, because they say like, oh, she's, her and her daughters have problem with synthetic hair extensions that irritate the scalp or break me out. Or I don't want to go to, the beauty supply store because I'm not treated well. Or they've closed the Barnes and Nobles in my area, so I can't even go enjoy a book because it's been taken over by a beauty supply store. And I'm not even getting the type of customer service that I deserve. So realizing that their problems were also mine has been my best strategy.
Okay, that's good. Elizabeth, I know you're the president-elect of NABO, right? National Association of Women in Business. Got it.
Women Business Owners.
Women's Business Owners.
NAWBO.
NABO.
Check it out, ladies.
So what was the strategy behind that organization getting started? I know you shared an interesting story about how it started earlier. Would you mind sharing that with our guests today?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, the thing about NABO is that in order to be in NABO, you've got to be a business owner. So that's how it works. So there's two parts of me. I'm here with two hats on. One is my NABO hat, which I am incredibly passionate about. And the other is my own company, which is Maison Visionnaire. I'm going to just start with the NABO thing, because that's, I think, is the most relevant to each and every one of you in the room. So it started in 1975, some of you may remember. A woman business owner could not get a loan without a male family member co-signing. Does anybody not know that? Some of you don't know, yeah, okay. So what happened was, there was a woman who went into a bank in DC, and she had no male family members. And the bank manager was like, there's got to be somebody. She said, I have a 17-year-old son. He said, he'll do. She said, he won't. And that was how it changed. That's how it started. So she went out, she got together with a group of women, very similar to who are in this room right now, and she said, this is not okay. not in any shape or form, it's not okay. So as a woman business owner, we demand those equal rights that the men have, and even now, personally, I'm going for a line of credit, and I had a conversation with my bank manager. I told her all about NARBO. By the way, we have 60 chapters all over America. So, and it's a great community. It's a great tribe. We do business education. So really, go on to nawbo.org. That's narbo.org. You will find there's a lot of information there, and we are still advocating for women's rights. In fact, on Tuesday, all of us are going to be in DC on the Hill for all of you. It's really cool. So find your local chapter and get involved.
Thank you. Susanna.
Well, so is anyone in here in the nonprofit world at all? Yeah, and I'm sorry. It's hard. It's really hard. It's all of this is really hard. And so I'll just say this. So I started my nonprofit 5 years ago and left in January because I was ready to pass it on and ultimately start a new company. I also was really, really burned out. And I fell into a deep, dark depression that I have just been resurfacing from, and I've never seen myself go through something like that. I'm glad I can be sitting here positively talking to you about it, but it was really hard. And I'm also always someone who's on and having to present and get money and sell everything I'm doing. And so when I started my nonprofit in 2014, I did not have any contacts. I really didn't have any contacts. I just went and stalked people on LinkedIn, and I would say that basically none of them got back to me, but I had to learn how to craft something compelling enough. So I started to learn what was working and ultimately got some of the meetings that I needed. And my idea was, okay, if I can get one bigger name sponsor to come behind my work, because we had done a music video camp, we do all kinds of film stuff with teenagers and teachers, but if we could get one big name, it doesn't matter how much money, that I can leverage to get the next one and the next one. And so I went after the Grammys, which was a little risky, but they answered, and I kept calling, and I happened to run into their executive director, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were gonna be here. So that's kind of that. I highly encourage that. And networking, it's this. It is literally my whole strategy is just this. It's showing up to things, being open about where you are. For me, not too open, because I'm really open. But ultimately, you gain trust and you find the right people who want to come on. And also positioning myself ultimately as somebody who is wanting to learn. I can, ultimately I'm able to connect to a lot of people and say, would you be willing to have coffee with me? Or if that sounds like too much to them and you think they're really busy, just get on a phone call for 30 minutes or 15 minutes and then you honor that time. And that's really what I'm trying to do my whole life with my career. It doesn't matter how much I've accomplished so far. The goal is always being really sensitive to other people. That's my strategy.
And that's a good strategy to have, especially in today's social media market where we're just out there cyber stalking each other. I know I do it. I'm like, let me Google Susanna, let me Google Elizabeth, right? So, but how has that for Elizabeth and Tiffany, how has cyber stalking or social media helped you with your business strategy?
Cyber stalking. I think we are very fortunate right now to have outlets such as Instagram, Facebook, and to be able to use those outlets responsibly and realize that just as if you were to meet someone like in a social setting like this, you really have one shot to approach somebody via social media. And that one shot could either be what you say to them when you DM them or private message them, or it could just be as simple as, them when you send the message and then they go on your page to look over your page to see who they think you are, So it's kind of like you have to be, when I used to work in the bank, we would say you have to be on stage when you're in front of people, when you're in front of your audience, when you're in front of, you know, whoever you're trying to gain respect, loyalty from, or what have you, you're on stage. So I feel like when you're on social media, you're on stage. You're performing, you know? And so I know a lot of times we like to say like, oh, you know, we're not posting like we're supposed to be and like all that, you know, all of that. But the reality is that your social media is really a highlight reel of who you are. And those who you're looking to work with, if you're using social media as a platform to network and to gain contacts and relationships, people are looking at your social media to decide if they want to further the conversation with you. So it's definitely important.
That's so true, so true. Elizabeth?
So now I'll wear my other hat. Listen, we multitask, don't we? I mean, that's the truth of the matter. As women, we always multitask. So even now, I'm multitasking. So my business, my own company, is called Maison Visionnaire. And what I did is I basically reinvented the reed diffuser. So you know the reed diffuser, the home fragrance bottle with the sticks coming out? Yeah, okay. So it's kind of plain. It's not very exciting. It's not really that beautiful. So I brought scent to art, and I made it really beautiful. And we're just going through the process. In fact, we were discussing, you know, the advantages of patenting and things like that. So when you're, for me, going back to social media, stalking, have I ever done it? Yeah, probably. Once or twice. Not that I really want to own up to in a room full of women, but hey. But the importance of social media is that it gets you seen. And also from that point of view, it's a shop. So really think about, I mean, for me, I've got a product, but even if you have a service, it doesn't matter. Having that social media can really make such a huge difference. And what I would just say, you know, because I like to give advice sometimes, is that think about all of them. So there were some people that I went onto LinkedIn recently, nothing, zero. I'm like, come on, people. This is important. You're a businesswoman. You need to be on LinkedIn. So that level of that social media. And Instagram, yeah, for sure. It's like you're on. You're always on and you're seen, and that's so important. So take some time, and you know, we're talking strategy, and so take some time out of your week, block your week out, and put that in. That is so important. Or even just, you know, get an intern to do it for you. If you really hate it, then get someone else that is really fine with it to help you.
And you spoke on wearing many hats, right? So that's something that we all are doing up here, right? You have your speaker hat and your entrepreneur hat, your business hat. Some of us are mothers also. What is your strategy for handling all the hats you have going on? Especially you have like 2 businesses. So what is that?
Well, actually, NARBO is for me, it's not a business, it actually is a non-profit. But in theory, yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
And certainly, you know, I'm going to be president for the next 2 years, God help me. Which means it's going to be stressful. I mean, I see how it works. So wearing those hats is so important. I mean, what I would just say is that you have to honor each and every hat that you choose to wear. Whether that's being a mother, whether that's being a wife, whether that's being a girlfriend, whether that's being a business owner, whatever, or even a girlfriend to someone, a colleague, your tribe, whatever that is, step in and give your 100%. That's so important.
Thank you. Susanna?
So I am not the best person to ask about this. And this is part of the reason why I burned out, is because I ultimately did not manage myself very well. I kept working up to crazy, stupid hours every day for months and months and years at a time, and kept thinking I could do it. And I would have these burnout days. Then it became weeks, and then eventually I realized I'm always burned out. And since I have left, reimagine. I actually have been reading a lot of reports from founders who've also burned out and what that means. And in 2018, the World Economic Forum came out with a jobs report. And what they said was, in the future, some of the highest job skills that are going to be needed are creativity, innovation, pretty much all the things you guys are probably good at, entrepreneurship, critical thinking, and the jobs that can be more automated will become that. But what I was thinking when I was reading that was we are acting like we're trying to do literally everything all the time, and we're becoming the robots. But yet we're still trying to be creative and innovative and make money and connect with people, but you literally cannot do all of it. We cannot function that way. There's not enough time in the day. So when you think about where AI is going, that's exactly what's going to happen, is that the creativity and innovation will get more freed up. And my goal now that I'm resetting, is to be in that place where I can look at tasks that I have to do and say, how much of this energy is it going to take for me? My strengths are ideating, coming up with unique ways to approach fundraising, business strategy, but I'm not great at being in the weeds, and I literally can't do both. So when I started Reimagine, my goal was just get people who can do all the jobs you can't. Since I'm good at fundraising, I'm gonna go out and fundraise to hire people. And that for me, it sounds braggy, I guess, but not really, because I couldn't teach any of the things that we were doing at the nonprofit. I'm like, I can't use cameras, I'm terrible at operations, like all these things I wasn't good at. So I will say that focus of saying, okay, I know I have the strength, and then my board of directors too, really utilizing their skill sets and their networks to try to activate and delegate has helped for sure. But I will say, the bigger your team gets and the bigger your board gets in your network, it becomes it's become even more overwhelming. So my strategies now, I actually avoid social media a lot because that was part of my overload. And Reimagine has its own social media, but me personally, my stuff's private. I only post like stupid videos that I want to post that are embarrassing, that keep me laughing. So, I think you just have to figure out what works for you.
Can I say, okay, and I think this is important. That's why I wanted to say it. I think that we need to abandon the word balance. Because I think, so I'm a mom of 4. I'm married. I have a startup company and all the other little things that I do. And it's just impossible for me to balance all of that and it be great. So I have abandoned the word balance and I have adopted the word prioritize. So for me, my priorities change from day to day. Sometimes the priority is my family, sometimes it's my business, sometimes it's myself. And whatever that priority is for that day is what I explain to whoever I need to explain that to. So if I have to tell my kids, like, today mommy has to do this, I'm not gonna be able to come to your game today. Because that was important to me, and it is very important to me to be at my kids' social activities, but I was finding myself running myself so thin, and I had to talk to my husband about, we have to be a team. So where I lack, you have to pick up. And I do realize that everybody doesn't have a husband, but find what your community is, find your tribe, and figure out, and be honest and open, and ask for help. I think as women, we don't like to ask for help. Because we want to do it all ourselves to make ourselves look like a super mom or a super woman. And you have to reframe the word super. It doesn't mean you have a cape. It just means that you are super. You are great. But it doesn't mean that you have to have the cape flying in the back and doing everything.
And that's great. I'm glad you shared that, right? Because we all feel like we're supposed to be doing it all. Like we have to all have it together for looks and appearance. Like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I have it all together. And then we end up having burnout and we're just not able to be our best creative selves, right? And that's taken away from your business because you can't create for your business. You're not creating for anyone. You're just pouring for an empty cup. You can't do it. But how did you get to that point, I guess? And I know we've all, I know I have experienced burnout. I'll be honest and transparent about that. But how did you get to that point? Like, you know what, I cannot do it this way. I have to do it this way. How did you come to that?
I think it is burnout. You literally have to fall flat on your face You have to cry. Like, it has been a time, I remember distinctively a time where I literally fell out and was just bursting in tears because I was so extremely tired. I was delirious. And I think it took for me to get to that point to realize, what am I doing? Like, I am just so completely empty, and I'm, trying to pour into all of these things, and I'm just not doing a good job.
Yeah. Elizabeth, if you had one piece of advice to give to any inspired, well, we're all business owners here. Nobody's aspiring, right? We're all business owners? Yes. So if you had one piece of advice that you can give to this room full of ladies, what would it be? Well, tell them.
So one is really hard. What I would say is, in order to succeed, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to have a plan. And you've got to have that determination because you're going to fall down. It's going to happen. That's business. But you've got to get up, and you just keep on getting up until you succeed. So, and have a strategy.
Have a strategy. Susanna?
I will say the greatest gift that I was able to be a part of the last couple years is finding a group of women who also were doing similar work, and Malika, who's going to come up here, is one of them. And they're all women who were running social enterprises in Atlanta and were touted around in the press, and meanwhile, you're struggling to survive, and you have to eat the extra food at the event because you're really hungry. And being able to be that honest with people was really great. But also, every time our group gets together, and these are women, they're doing stuff. They're doing stuff. And when we get together, it is a big cry fest. It's like, I'm so tired, all these things going on. And now I'm making a TV show about it. And I'm like, we need to talk about this stuff. But ultimately, that is what, for me, I would say, find people. Like, not just one person's good, like to work with sometimes because we're alone a lot. But ultimately, just find a group or start a little support group and don't put too much pressure on it. Oh, we're going to meet every week. No, you're not. You're lying to every month. You're probably lying. I find spontaneous texts like, hey, everyone, what are you doing tonight? They're like, okay, I can come.
Tiffany, what word of advice would you?
I wish I knew about incubators when I started. I am now a part of an incubator now, even though I've been in business 5 years, and it's the best thing that has happened to me. I would say find an incubator program if you're in the startup phase, because it's a great way to test your ideas. We all come up with these ideas and we're like, oh my God, this idea is gonna change the world. Everyone's gonna buy it, everyone's gonna love it because you love it. But just because you love it doesn't mean that customers will love it. And so incubators allows you to test your ideas. It allows you to test theories. It allows you to understand customer discovery, and how to actually talk to your customer. It talks to you about investing, because we hear the word investing and we think like, oh my God, I need an investor because I've been bootstrapping all these years, but is investing really good for you? We all want to get in Target and all these Walmart and all these places, but is retail really good for your business, or could it tank your business? So these are all things that, you really won't know. But incubators are great because there are mentors within the incubators. There are angel investors. You can use that space to grow. And you probably 9 times out of 10 pivot. And that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to figure out if what you're creating is really for the economy. So I would say look for an incubator. I'm in a great one. It's called Digital Undivided. And that's a great one specifically for women of color and Latina women. But there are lots of incubators out there. So I would say look for one, even if you are in business and you're creating revenue right now, or if you're at the idea stage, I would say look into one.
Nice. right, thank you. And I'll just leave this because that is our time. So just make sure, my piece of advice would be, I know, right? We were just getting started. My piece of advice is remember that you belong, right? So often we think we're not able to do something, or we don't have enough credentials, or we don't have the capacity, or the funding, or the support. But you do belong. If you have the idea to do something, go out and find the resources, find the money, find the people, because you wouldn't get that idea for that business if it wasn't supposed to be a business. So thank you, ladies, so much. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.